It's already illegal for non-citizens to vote, but that's not stopping House Republicans from forging ahead on a bill to prevent non-citizen voting. Yesterday, Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson delivered a stark warning to Congress, saying that lies like those are leading to an unprecedented number of threats against election officials.
We cannot have a secure democracy if we do not protect the security of the people who administer our elections. And right now, we are enduring unrelenting harassment and threats. So I need you to be on notice that unsubstantiated allegations and rhetoric without evidence makes our elections less secure because they erode the public's confidence in our elections and harm those charged with protecting our election systems.
And we're continuing to follow the latest developments in the conversation over election security. Today, Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson joins me. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. Let's get into this non-citizen voting issue. What do you know about the facts? What do you face in Michigan? Is it a significant problem? What can you tell us?
Well, first, only U.S. citizens can vote in our elections. That's the law of the land. And in every state, we work to make sure that law is realized. We prosecute anyone we find breaking the law, not just in that, but in other ways. And we also track the data. You can't register to vote in Michigan or get a driver's license without showing some documentation, which reveals whether you're a citizen or not and protects us against unwittingly registering people who aren't citizens. So our processes are secure, and you'll find that across the country. The real impact of these allegations is to harm people's confidence in our election system and make them distrust the process. And that's the point I tried to make to Congress yesterday.
Would you say it's an insignificant issue statistically?
Statistically insignificant. And again, if we find a non-citizen registered or vote, if we find anyone who's not a citizen who is inadvertently registered to vote, we remove them from the rolls. If in the very rare circumstance that person stays on the rolls and they vote, then we will prosecute. And that's the same all across the country. We're very serious about doing that. And so the suggestion yesterday, or in many ways that we're not, is really frankly offensive, because our jobs every day are to show up and make sure the integrity of our elections is paramount.
So it's rare in Michigan.
Yes, it's rare, and it's rare across the country, and there have been plenty of studies, including from the Heritage Foundation, that reinforce that fact.
But as you saw at the debate this week, Donald Trump falsely claimed that Democrats are trying to get undocumented immigrants to vote. Are you seeing that in your state, in Michigan? Is that happening?
I mean, there were a lot of claims made that weren't necessarily factual. We know that, and we're not. And this is another one of them. I mean, we're not seeing non-citizens participating in our elections in any state at high rates. When we see someone who's not eligible to vote for any reason, registered to vote, we remove them from the rolls, and we work within the confines of the law to do that. And again, I tried to walk through that yesterday before the hearing, and also make the case that when these unsubstantiated claims of non-citizens voting proliferate, it harms not just the public's faith in our elections, but it translates into threats to election workers themselves, and they need to know that. Yeah,
and before the segment, you and I were chatting about this. I mean, I'm old enough to know that there was a time when the Secretary of State position in the state government was not a very, forgive me for saying this, not a very sexy job. It was not a very high-profile job. These are the really dedicated citizens who go out there and make sure that our elections are safe and secure and so on. Obviously, election workers like yourself, people like Brad Raffensperger down in Georgia, have been thrust into the political process. And a Michigan state lawmaker posted on social media this week that you will be prosecuted if Trump wins. Trump has said he'll prosecute election officials as well. We saw that over the weekend in this Truth Social post. He says that if they cheat in the 2020 that cheated in the 2020 election, and if they cheat in this election, they're going to be prosecuted. What's your reaction when you hear all of those things?
I mean, it's designed to kind of make us afraid to do our jobs, make us afraid to stand up in response to these threats and speak the truth. It's intended to silence us. And that's not going to work with me and many of us. We are committed to doing our jobs. And when we get threats like these, one, we know the integrity of our work, it's sound. We know the truth and the law is on our side. And so we're not going to back down. We're going to continue to refuse to be intimidated and double down on our efforts to make sure every citizen, no matter who they are or who they vote for, is able to vote and have confidence in our elections.
And Secretary Benson, I do want to have you relay to the viewers, if you can, some of what you've had to go through, because I know you personally have had to deal with threats and intimidation.
Yeah, over the last several years. And it's not just threats over social media or voicemails or phone calls. It's people showing up at my home in the dark of night and, issuing threats or being swatted twice in, 48 hours. And that is unnerving. It is a reminder of what we're up against and how low people will be willing to go in response to some of the false rhetoric that they're hearing. And again, I think everyone needs to realize those consequences of these words right now. There's a direct line from the hateful rhetoric to potential violent threats against not just me, but election workers, clerks who don't necessarily want to step into the fray, but will do so if it means protecting our elections. But they don't deserve to be harmed or threatened or afraid for simply doing that very patriotic work.
And what do you do on election night if there are people showing up at election counting centers, vote counting centers, at poll sites, trying to intimidate people? What happens? Are you planning for that or prepared for that?
Yeah, I mean, first we are planning for that. I think
Okay.
that's what we're doing right now. We try to mitigate the harm. We try to deter. We've passed laws in Michigan to make it a crime to threaten an election official, for example, in their line of work. So we've put more protections in place, built partnerships with law enforcement, and have actually done scenario planning with local law enforcement and first responders to be prepared for every contingency. So we'll be ready. We're also trying to communicate to people, don't try to disrupt our elections process. It's not going to work, and there will be legal consequences.
Well, thank you for the work that you do and the people in your office, dedicated citizens who are just trying to make sure our elections are safe and secure. Secretary Benson, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. And we should note, House Republicans are so determined to ban non-citizen voting that they're toying with the prospect of a partial government shutdown. There's just one problem, as we've been discussing. Non-citizen voting is already illegal in federal elections. It is, in fact, a crime. And while Speaker Mike Johnson says he knows, quote, intuitively that undocumented immigrants are voting, the fact is this: non-citizen voting, as we were just discussing, is rarer than rare. In 2016, one study found only 30 suspected cases out of 23.5 million. And of course, it should go without saying, there's no evidence of Democrats encouraging undocumented immigrants to vote. Right now, in more than half the country, Republican state legislatures are shortening the window to vote by mail, requiring new forms of ID, and expanding voter purges. Election day is less than 2 months away. Make sure you get out there and vote. And we'll be right back.